Hey y'all, I've had lots of questions on how to change the colors on the PNGs and JPEGs, so I thought I'd give you a little tutorial so that way you can customize your iron-on transfers. So the free website that I like to use is Pixlr.com. So axlr.com. Make sure you go over to the Open Pixlr editor. Click that. Make sure your flash is enabled. You might have to update it. It'll prompt you. Then go to Open Image from Computer. I am going to use this Dad of Little Miss Wonderful, and I like to use the PNG. I give you multiple file formats, but you'll find that when you are working with these files and changing the colors, the PNG is just going to give you cleaner results, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So there are two ways that you can select a portion of this design to change the color. I'm going to show you on these little hearts first. So one method is to take this wand tool, click on it, find your bucket, and then fill it. You'll see when I turn off these marching ants that there's a little bit of a pink outline on it. I'll zoom in here so you can see it better. See that little bit of a pink outline? It highlighted all of it, but the tolerance, which is how close to the original color it allows for, is set at 21. And here's what happens. Because this is based on pixels, you have these tiny little squares. Come on, baby. There we go. So see all these tiny little squares right here? As you get to this is actually that same heart from that file. I just zoomed in and I changed the color so you can see it better. Well, right here, you can see that the color starts to lighten a bit. And so when you have the tolerance set at 21, it thinks that this right here is not close. It's not close enough to the original color. So it's not going to select it, and it's going to give you that banding of the original color there. So the nice thing about PNGs, because it's a transparent background, you can crank your tolerance way up. There's no color next to it, so it's not going to get confused and select other colors because it's only looking at the colors that are touching the one that you're trying to work with. And then you just use your bucket and you fill it. And now you can see there is no banding around that of that original color. Now, what about when we want to try to work with something where it's two colors next to one another? Like over on this crown with the O. So you can see these are actually fairly different in color. So if I turn this back to the original tolerance of 21, 20 is close enough. I'm going to click in here. You can see that, yes, if we zoom in a little bit more, I'm going to zoom in too much and lose it. You can see a little bit of the pink still there, but it's close enough to that yellow that once you zoom out, you're not even going to notice it at all. But if you're really detail-oriented, you're going to want to make sure that you don't have that slight banding. And so this is where you're really going to need to pay attention to that tolerance. So I'm going to Control-Z and undo my color. And I am just going to fiddle with the tolerance a little bit and raise it up. Let's try 49. You see, I still have a teeny tiny little bit of the pink. I can only notice it really right here in these corners where the pixels are forming like a little bit of a stair. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to crank the tolerance just a little bit more. Try again. And now, I mean, maybe just a tiny little bit of pink still there, but definitely nobody is ever going to notice that. So scroll out, and that's how we're changing that color there. Now, what happens if you decide to try to crank your tolerance way up when you have two colors that are next to each other? Let's try a tolerance of 120. So I'm going to click. Let's change this to a new color so that way you can see. Okay. Click in here. Oh, that actually didn't demonstrate it very well. If your tolerance is too high, then if you try to fill the bucket, it's just going to change all of the colors. And you don't want that. So you're going to have to play around the tolerance. It's not a hard, fast rule. It really depends on the two colors that you're working with and the difference in shades and hues between the two. So just keep playing with your tolerance. It might take a few tries to do it. So anyway, just go through there step by step, pick out the colors that you want, and you are ready to go on to the next step, which is mirroring your image. And I'll show you how to do that in a different video. Thank you, and I hope this helps.